I guess I have to start with I mentioned Mary Jane as a very generous person. Because of his generosity, uh, I have gotten at many times very PO'd. Mary Jane would give up the store and starve without thinking because of this generosity. This is the truth. She's generous toward her children and other people. As a result, we've had ladies come around that the check wasn't ours because of this generosity. As I look back and I said, I could have quite a few $1,000s piled up here, piled up there, if we hadn't and all. Now I've grown to the point that I do not regret it. I've hit the point in my life that money has ceased to have that type of value that I can weigh it one way or the other. And I guess probably as I get older, I'm more proud of my wife in sharing her gifts with other people in so many fashions that she has. If you really think of it, I guess I was mentioning this to your dad last night. We've got 5 children, and they got 5 wives or husbands. Each one of them have 10 children, or is it 15? But anyway, and each one of them have children down the line. So we end up with an ancestry here already of getting near 40 people. And recognizing the fact that Mary Jane has never forgot anything from birth, baptism, first communion, graduation, marriage, birthday, what the line on each one. If you really total it up, it's quite a sum of money. This is one of my biggest worries as I face death now, and that is that I have to see Mary Jane, you have to put the choker chain on. You're going to be living on about 1/5 the income that you had before. You're not going to be able to do this. You're going to have to send a card to your grandchildren wishing them a happy birthday rather than a $10 or $20 bill. And I know it's going to be hard for you to do this, but you have to face that reality. And so, it's a good feeling of having that she has done all these things, but it's a sad feeling knowing now that she's going to have that feeling of, oh, I didn't do it, I couldn't do it, all that, damn it, Uh, it's a sad feeling for me knowing that I didn't leave her with the capacity to do this, or the funds to do this.
What are some of the worst moments you've experienced in marriage?
In my life?
Yeah. Just in marriage, in your marriage.
You know, I can't really think of anything that became such an obstacle that it wasn't a conquerable challenge for us. We had probably the biggest disciplining we had to do with each other was in the area of financing because of Mary Jane's generosity. That maybe the biggest arguments that we have been as a result of that. But I have learned, the older I get, none of them needed to take place. It's really foolish to say there's something wrong with Christian virtue. And I guess giving is a Christian virtue. I can't really think of anything that would be rather encumberable or something like this in differences or argumentative things that would be big enough to share to serve a purpose. I really honestly can't. It's been a very peaceful, satisfying marriage and life.
What do you think now? You just celebrated your 60th anniversary. What do you think made it work through that amount of time?
I think each year a thrill of making the other person a happier person than they were the year before by some particular growing virtue. I guess I think of things since I retired, of beginning our morning with reaffirming our love for each other, of trying to do something for each other that is the kindness of the day, of planning our day with an unselfishness that is considerate of the other person. Of full consideration, I guess, of what I'm going to do today will affect Mary Jane. I guess this is part of, as love grows, which it does, in two people like us, that you live more and more for the other person's happiness, and that's what's happening.
How do you think the success of your marriage has played a role for your kids and their spouses? I mean, do you think you've set a good example for the kids? Do you see your own relationship reflected in your kids' relationships?
We've been fortunate in that we have not had to interfere in any fashion other than suggestive to any of our children. I have so many friends that rather stun us with things that have happened in their own family, and they rather blame kids for things that possibly didn't happen to us because of the way we brought up our kids, the way we tried to teach them the role of a husband or a wife, these responsibilities and things like that. I don't think anything like that happens overnight. I think something like that is something that grows from the very day that you began taking care of your child. Bad things happen to people who have not had good life experiences. They have to happen, that's all.
How did you guys typically resolve problems in your marriage?
To begin with, Mary Jane's temper was something that I had never had to cope with. There was never any temper displays in our family. There had been many temper displays in hers. I think Mary Jane actually expected that this would be a necessary part of married life. And we did have, in our earlier marriage, displays of temper, which usually, if you think it out, you display temper because of selfishness. And when you really come down to it, why do you expect me to do this? It's to make you happy, not me. In many cases. We've grown beyond that point.
And how did you grow beyond that point? Just patience? What would you characterize?
I would say it's something that doesn't happen naturally. It happens because you have You've grown to be part of that other person, and they have, you adopt the good natures of your wife or your husband. Uh, you drop as you go through this here, and it helps. You drop your bad natures. You drop your tempers. You drop this saying bad things about other people. You learn to correct each other kindly rather than abruptly. So many things like that that are part of the love life that people want. They need to help each other be in love.
You mentioned before about your honeymoon. I just want to go back and ask a quick question about that. Where did you guys go?
It was a rather non-eventful trip to northern Minnesota. We ended up, and of course, relived the trip with Harry and Jane as they took us through this on our last anniversary. Went up northern Minnesota on the North Shore. In the course of things, the first evening we got as far as Brainerd only, and we stayed in a hotel. Mary Jane really probably wouldn't want me to say, but a very strange thing happened after we prepared for bed that first evening. Mary Jane broke down in tears after she'd put down her nightgown. And I, what did I do wrong? My God, what did I do to scare her or what? And I could not get out of her why she was crying. I have never gotten a complete answer yet today, but I think what it really was a girl all of her early life goal is walking down the aisle in a beautiful gown and a beautiful wedding and all this. And when it comes to an end, it's like the Christmas tree burned down. That's the only way I can describe it. I hugged her. Believe it or not, sex was at the bottom of the list at that time because of this love. I just felt so sorry for Mary Jane crying and me not knowing the reason and her not being able to explain it. Anyway, as I remember, we got out of bed and got dressed and went over to a movie. I thought that would be the best thing to do to get her mind off whatever was causing it. From there on, we left Brainerd and we moseyed along up to the North Shore, enjoying ourselves, very nice weather, and returned down to Bemidji, and she had a relative who was the manager of the VFW club there, and they invited us to stay overnight. And we just moseyed along. I think we probably only had about a 7-day honeymoon. Come back, like I say, the first thing we did, got our mail from the post office. They didn't deliver mail then, you know. And here's this check discharging her from a job, and here's my check, and we began our married life. We didn't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out, but we began with that. And this is what I honestly today, I say, I think this is a good way for everybody to start out. There's no selfishness involved. Every single thing that Mary Jane and I have, we have earned together.
What was your favorite vacation that you took with
Favorite
Mary Jane?
vacation? I have to say, in all honesty, of all the places I've been in the world and everything, the one that was most impactful and knowledgeable was the one that Harry and Jane took us on, that took us through Italy, Greece, and the Holy Land. To be able to walk the very places, to see the very places, to rather live things until then I had only read in books. It made my faith deeper and more understandable and all. I guess that was it. But I've had many, many excellent vacations. Some of them, the selfish one of my hunting trips and things like that. I've been to so many places that way. Canada and Montana and Idaho and Minnesota, and I've killed practically every type of big game that there is in the United States. But vacation with Mary Jane's have been the Holy Land on top of the list, and of course Hawaii and Alaska were highlights for Mary Jane too.
Let's take a break. They want to
Okay.
do something.